Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 4 of the Tipsy Toe Drag podcast. My name is Trent, and I'll be your moderator here tonight. We're joined here with Clayton and Cam, as always, the regular co-hosts or hosts or moderators. But we're going to be rotating that, I think, throughout our podcast here. But right on. So we seen a busy last few days here in the NHL. Friday kicked off round 1 of the NHL entry draft. We've seen a lot of action there. And then Saturday was rounds 2 to 7, which was also a lengthy period of time there for the NHL GMs and whatnot. We've seen lots of trades happening, just lots of action overall. So it's been great. So we're going to start off just kind of going over some of the entry draft results. Buffalo Sabres had the first overall pick, and they selected Owen Power. I don't think there's much of a surprise here. I mean, guy was a brute, massive defenseman. He's 6'6", 215.
6'6".
Yeah. So I'm just going to quote something here quick from Elite Prospects, and then we could just dive right into him. Mm-hmm. So it said, "It's easy to understand the appeal for Power. There just aren't many 6'6" defensemen who could skate quite like he does. He doesn't make many mistakes on the puck and has no problem working the short-range passing game to let his teammates do the legwork in transition. He doesn't hesitate. He has a great knack for finding space, and he has a big enough shot to credibly threaten from range." So what are your guys' thoughts on Owen Power going first overall to the Buffalo Sabres?
Well, I'm not a big fan taking D first overall. I know it happens. Last one to do it was Dahlin. So it's just funny to see Sabres literally draft 2 D-man first overall, and they're both left-handed shot D-man. They already have Dahlin and all this stuff. But when this draft is you had no choice. He was clear the head runner, of the whole draft for defensemen. But I like what hockey prospects or elite prospects wrote there. It's funny what they say about him, and a lot of analysts out there too saying he's a big brute that can skate, that has a great shot, high-end hockey IQ, and all this stuff. And the player he reminds me of when you watch him and see him play, and just looking at highlights and also reading about him, is Aaron Ekblad, who went first overall in 2014.
Right.
Very similar skill set. Exceptional skaters, high-end hockey IQ, and big guys, big bodies.
Big, huge bodies.
And so,
there's
nothing, you can't go anything wrong with Ekblad, because he had a great rookie campaign, and then he's been pretty consistent since then. He hasn't really broken out. He's just that two-way, strong, stay-at-home type of defenseman that can provide offense and big shots. So I think, I like this pick for Sabres. They had no choice to go with it. But yeah, I think it made sense the most for Sabres.
Yeah, if he's anything like an Ekblad, you got a really good player there. I think he was kind of the consensus number 1, so it's not a surprise at all. And if you have Owen Power and Rasmus Dahlin on your defense, I think you're set up pretty good. Dahlin, I think there was a ton of expectations on him going, out the gate here. But, Buffalo, they've had a few rough years here. So, it's tough for him to kind of have a breakout on a really terrible team like that. But I think it's a good pick. I think, they got some pretty key pieces on their defense now. They got Dylan Cousins as well as a prospect there too. It's not all doom and gloom for them. They got some promising players here, and we'll see what they get back with the Eichel trade that kind of is speculated to happen here. I haven't heard anything really new on that. Did you guys hear anything on the Eichel front?
Last thing there I was reading, since I'm a big Eichel fan, is that the GM there was mentioning how there's been no new news out, but he was making notes or references to that fact that if we would keep Eichel here, we have nothing against dealing with him, all this stuff. We think we have a great future here, just type of thing that he was mentioning. So really nothing new. I know that Friedman or Drager might have mentioned previously that the asking price for Eichel went down. So I'm kind of curious, ooh, how much did it go down by?
Kind of what I heard too. Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to be able to trade him and get true value back when he has this significant injury. And per reports,
he needs surgery.
He still needs surgery still, and he wants this. He wants a disc replacement.
Disc replacement.
Yeah. So
it sounds like Buffalo's management kind of is just pushing it aside too. It seems like in their pressers and stuff. So, which isn't really good to kind of push away your key player, right? Like your franchise player like that. But I've kind of heard that they might be potentially keeping him now, but depending on if he needs the surgery, if he gets the surgery, or if he gets the type of procedure maybe that he was going for. But it's a big
it could also be a thing
risk.
a thing. I think if him saying that they're willing to keep him on the team, like there's no rush to trade him. It's almost like a strategy in a way, because you don't want to look desperate to trade the guy either, because then your offers might be less. So if it could work out in his favor too, if he kind of stays patient for a while and just kind of sees what some of these other teams do that are really looking to get him.
Right.
It's kind of concerning a neck surgery that's disc replacement. I don't know what that is, but it doesn't sound great.
No. Well,
but
it's a new type of surgery that's never been done on a hockey player before. It's
rare procedure.
So it's because herniated disc in his neck, and once you have one, it's usually you're prone to get another one down the road again, depending on and then plus there's always gonna be some type of lingering pain or pressure and stuff in the neck, and so he wants to get the disc replacement surgery in order to totally remove all those potential complications after. Once he's healed and stuff like that, but you never know. Like it's a replacement disc surgery in your neck, so like that could even be worse than just laying the heel and doing it other types of normal surgeries are available.
I'm curious what you would do. I know you're biased because you're a huge freaking Eichel fan, but if you're the GM of New York Rangers, Anaheim, or even a Montreal. What's your thought process?
I wouldn't say I'm biased in terms of I'm so smart when it comes to where it's like not acknowledging what's going on. You have to take there's a risk. Like you cannot give up true value for Eichel. That's what I said previously. Like if you're going to trade for Eichel and you have this potential surgery that could really hamper his play and everything like that, you can't give up too much. And in addition, I don't think any team wants him to take that surgery. So I think Eichel is in the position right now where he's going to have to follow what NHL teams want, especially the Buffalo Sabres. Or, there's always the chance where he could just say, fuck it, I'm going to go get the surgery anyways and void his contract. There's always that possibility.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy.
That's nuts. $10 million contract, I think, for another 5 years or something, isn't it?
Yeah, to forfeit that. That's
you gotta remember, like Eichel, like if he body comes first before money, and probably to him, I'm going to say, because he's fighting this hard.
That's true.
It's
So
a tough situation, man.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Anyways, that was a nice little rabbit hole there for the Owen Power pick, but I like it. That was good. So we're gonna kind of just dive through the Oilers' first round pick. We all seen they traded their 19th overall pick to Minnesota to acquire the 22nd overall pick, as well as the third round 90th overall pick. And then with that pick in the first round, Holland selected Xavier Burgo from Quebec there. What do you guys think of this pick? I mean, everybody had the hopes that we were going to take Wallstead there in the net, and Holland opted to trade down a couple picks as well as acquire another pick in the third round and to draft this forward. So what do you guys think on that pick, and do you think it's going to impact Edmonton in the near future or longer term?
I think, I'm not really, well read on the prospects that much. But I know that kind of the consensus, I think, is that Wallstead kind of dropped into the Oilers' laps. Really highly ranked goalie, one of the highest ranked goalies in a long time. Lots of people saying he could become like a great goalie in the NHL sooner than later. And, we had him sitting there. And I remember seeing on Twitter, people were going wild saying, typical Oilers get lucky in a
Yeah.
draft and he falls into their laps. Like, no question, they pick him, blah, 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 blah. And then we were kind of getting excited. I think we were talking to each other. And then in typical Oilers fashion, all of a sudden there's a trade to announce. And Holland's like, you know what? We're just going to trade this opportunity away to get an extra pick in the third round. And I can't really give an opinion on Burgo, but it seemed like we kind of walked away from a good opportunity to get a really good goalie that could probably play for our team in a few years. You know, who's the last good goalie that we drafted? It was probably Dudnik, and then who was before that? I don't even know.
Right.
So, you know, it's been a long time since we've drafted a good goalie who's actually made it as a starter on this team, and I think it just kind of sucks to walk away from that.
I think the funniest part about this whole trade was that the Wild never expected Wallstead to be available there. They didn't even have a nameplate for him for his jersey. They were totally going in a different direction. Then once they realized that it fell to Edmonton, they're like, "Oh, we got no choice. We have to get him."
Mm-hmm.
Like, they weren't even going for him. I think they were going after a D-man. That's what I read.
Right.
And and then the Oilers, like, of course, like, I saw that happening. I remember sitting there. I'm like, okay, we're gonna get this goalie. I was kind of hoping to get Costa, and per Tyler Wright, I guess Costa was the guy that they were targeting, but it didn't happen, so they went Burgo. But I feel like you know what? I get why you have lists. I get why you stick to your plan. I get it, but when you have a goalie like this that falls to you, you gotta go for it. And I think the long reason that Costa went higher than Wallstead was because, like, I think he just has, like, Costa has, like, really unnatural ability, and, like, very, like, he has potential to be better than Wallstead, but right now Wallstead is that, you know, top goaltender that's been playing against men all last season in Sweden, which is the third tier.
That's a big point too.
That's true.
So I don't like. It's like you said, Clayton. You can't really judge what Burgo's can be like, but supposedly, like, just reading reports and everything, this Burgo guy doesn't seem to be like the real deal. Seems to be like a type of player that could groom into a top 6 winger position. Doesn't really have the drive, but he does have like a really good shot. So I was watching a few clips.
It's funny when they were talking about the pick. Like, when they made the pick, they started showing all his clips, right, of all his goals he's scoring, and all of them were tap-ins, like the easiest goals ever. Like, they couldn't find any more highlights of him, like, creating plays and driving play.
But
I'm sure. I know. I don't want to diss this guy. I don't know anything about it, but it was just funny that those were the clips that it was. But I'm sure he's. And
then kind of hearing just Holland's whole thing, going for, like, the best player available too, like in his presser before as well. Like, you'd think he would have drafted Wallstead as well. Oh, because he probably was that's a good point. Available player at that time. So I get why he maybe wanted to get another pick eventually, because they didn't have a second or third rounder, so they would have been probably waiting for a while to get the next best available player. But still, I mean, this Burgo, I mean, he had a great couple of seasons here in the Quebec Major Juniors Hockey League. He's playing over point per game pace. I think he had a 1.38 point per game average here in his last season. He has the ability to finish. You know, been seeing lots of articles on him and stuff. Like, he's a dynamic offensive player. He has the ability to deke and show creativeness on the ice. And I did watch some videos today on Twitter. He can deke and he can finish. His shot is pretty crazy. I watched a few videos. So just seeing the potential there, like, man, he could play top 6 if he could just finish a shot, right? Like, he's got McDavid or Draisaitl probably if he's on the top 6 as his centerman. Imagine them dishing him passes. He could finish probably all day.
But
who knows?
The biggest thing here, though, is, like, you have to look at it, like, so do you want another top 6 winger to play with McDavid, or do you want a number 1 goalie that actually has potential to, you know, be your starter goalie for years, like, kind of like a Connor Hellebuck?
Yeah, goalies win cups.
Yeah,
goalies do win
or
cups.
Or Vasilevsky. Yeah. So, like, I understand that Oilers feel they have 2 potential starters in Skinner and Konovlov, the Russian, but, like, that guy's small. He's 5'11", so if anything, he's going to turn out to be like a UC Saros, but UC Saros still hasn't proven to be a true number 1 yet.
No, he really hasn't.
He's going to now if
Pekka he better anyways for the team's sake.
So I don't know how to judge this. I'm not, like, what's going to happen here is we're going to have to evaluate this trade 2 years from now and see who's progressed.
Yeah,
because
that's true.
It's, if anything, like it could turn out to be like the 2019 draft all over again, where we drafted Broberg over Zegras, and look where Broberg is. He's projected to not even make the NHL right now, and then you have Zegras, who's going to be a star winger.
Yeah, a lot of question marks there for our drafting, but
Yeah.
So just to kind of finish up on the NHL draft for Edmonton, some of the other picks that Edmonton went with, Luka Munzenberger, a big German defenseman, Jake Chason, another centerman, Mateev Petrov, a left winger, Shane Lachance, another left winger, and Maximus Wanner is a right-handed defenseman as well there. So we kind of went center heavy, few defensemen, but once again, no more.
The Petrov guy I heard was dropped pretty far.
Yeah.
He was like he went number 1 in the draft there for OHL, or is it? I think it was OHL, right? What's it?
Oh wow.
One of those drafts for coming into the OHL,
right?
For those
He went high up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious how that's gonna go. I'm like, he didn't come to Canada to play because of the OHL didn't have a season last year, which is really unfortunate.
Right. Yeah.
Feel bad for those players. But yeah, he was number 1 in that priority draft there to go into WHL. And he got and then last year the MHL he did really well. 58 games played, 42 points. So I'm kind of curious to see what he does. I think he's
a bigger kid too.
Oilers got him.
Yeah.
Yeah, like see he was projected, like if you look
round 6
he
went. Yeah, round 680.
Yeah, a lot of people had him. Yeah, a lot of people had him in the top 100. So I think out of all the picks Oilers did this draft, that's probably the one guy that could potentially turn out to be something. He's 6'2", 180, needs to gain some more weight, but he's quick. Very good hands. Very good on he's very good forechecker.
Yeah.
That's what I'm reading.
He shoots right, but he plays left wing, it says. So that's a nice, interesting change up as well. So then just kind of carry on, I guess. We'll just hop into some more Oilers discussion. So we touched base on the NHL draft, how kind of Edmonton did in there. What are your thoughts? So we've seen Smith re-signed. That was confirmed 2 years at $2.2 million. Quick thoughts on that. I know we touched on that in our previous pod, but if you guys just want to give your thoughts on that one quick, and then we can move on from there.
Yeah, I think we all knew this was going to happen. I think we were all hoping it was going to be a 1-year deal. Like, I'm fine with the money, like the cap hit, but he played really good last year. He was a really good goalie. Just you kind of wish it was a 1-year contract, but it's 2, and I guess he kind of he earned it. He had a really good year.
Yeah, he earned it. 100%.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so it's hard to kind of like get mad at that move, and I think I'm okay with it. I don't know if I'm okay with our goalie situation as a whole, though. But that's a different story.
Right. So then kind of just diving in, RFAs as well. Oilers did qualify a few, Kaylor Yamamoto, Cooper Marody, Tyler Benson, and Skinner as well for a goaltender there in net. What are your guys' thoughts on those qualifying offers? Obviously that means players such as, Jujhar Khaira and Dominic Cahoon were not qualified. So what are your guys' thoughts on those RFA qualifications?
Sorry, I'm just gonna go back to the Mike Smith for one quick thing there.
For sure. Sorry,
the biggest thing with Mike Smith is he's 39 years old. We gave him a 2-year contract, and right now, per Saravalli, Friedman, and all these other people, even Jason Gregor, a lot of them are saying that Oilers might not even go after another goalie. They might rock a Smith Stalick tandem. Which is like, I don't agree with that. So we'll see what happens. I'm not going to judge until Wednesday comes and see what they do. But yeah other than that, Mike Smith earned it. He's old. I get it. But he has drive. I'll say that. For his age.
He does. That guy's got some fire.
He's got drive and fire. And so I think, honestly, we might even see a better Smith this year. So we'll see what happens. To move on
that'd be nice. Better than last year. Like, oh man, yeah, that'd be crazy, right? He's got.
I was just gonna say he's the only 39-year-old I would have signed in the league.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't like. I know, like, it's funny to see Toronto go after Joe Thornton, sign him and everything. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
But anyways, to go after what you're saying there for the RFAs, I think the Oilers had no choice. For some reason, they're playing really tight to the cap, and I don't get it. Like, they could have qualified Jujar, but then there's a risk because he has See, the thing is with Jujar Kara and Cahoon, they both have arbitration rights, so they could have fought for more. Yeah. So I think that was the biggest factor on why they didn't sign him. But I have a feeling no matter what, they're done. They're not coming back to Edmonton.
Right.
So I'm comfortable with that. I'm Jujar Kara, as we mentioned in the previous podcast. You know, he's just a player that he's inconsistent. Doesn't show drive a lot of the games. Takes him a lot to get into it. So. And then Cahoon just never worked out. We don't need another skill forward. We need to start creating chemistry of players, and he had no chemistry of Drysdale anymore. So it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. He lost it. Clayton, any thoughts on those RFA qualifications?
Yeah, these ones were no brainers.
Yeah.
Obvious, like 100% for sure. Yamamoto showed a lot of potential at the end of not this past season, but the 2019-2020 season. He was like, that second line was dominant, and I think we were all hoping the same thing would happen again. And there was a little bit of Tippett not putting that line together again this year, but Yamamoto, I think, started off pretty strong, but he struggled for stretches this year. He's a guy that's not afraid to go in the corners and take a hit and make a hit and stuff like that, and that's why you kind of like him. I kind of hope going forward, I want him just to play a little bit. I don't want to say smarter, but just play, you know, like a Martin St. Louis or something. Like just pick your moments when you play heavy. You know, he's got all the skill in the world. He can finish. He is a top 6 forward. He's going to be good. But I just, you know, I think he kind of hurts himself a little bit when he doesn't always have to try and make a big hit or take a hit or go head first into the boards with some of these like 6'4", 6'5" defensemen.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm just like, sometimes I'm like, you know what? You're a smaller guy. You don't have to play like that. Play kind of, you know, I'm not a huge fan of freaking Gaudreau, but you know, he's had success in the league, and that's because he doesn't play that rough and tumble. But I think like if Yamamoto could take parts of like Gaudreau or St. Louis or something like that, parts of like that game and add it to his and kind of just pick his moments a little better, I think he'll be really good for sure.
Yeah, that's just it, right? Like he's a smaller guy. Like he's only 5'8", 150 pounds or something. Like he's super tiny, but he plays a tenacious style. Like you said, he goes after guys that are 6'4", and he'll run right into them. Just like the little freight train,
and that's what
it's going to catch up to him,
and that's what you love about him. That's what you love about him, and exactly that point. Like it's going to catch up with him, and you don't want him to completely abandon that game because that is what I think that's what gives him energy and you know he is a tenacious forechecker too, man. Yeah. Like when you watch him out there, he's just freaking like a bug on you. He's so good at it, but you know he just got to pick his moments. But yeah. But I got lots of confidence in that guy. And then Cooper Marody and Tyler Benson, like they're really good prospects too. And I was looking at like the AHL top scorers. Top scorers doesn't mean everything, but you know Cooper Marody was 3rd in AHL scoring. Tyler Benson was tied with 36 points as well.
I think like Marody and Benson need to take this qualifying like offers as something that they need to work on because those guys have not fought for a spot yet. Like they haven't showed enough to fight for a spot, and so the Oilers are kind of taking a chance on them right now by qualifying them.
Yeah.
So
like Clayton was saying too. Like last year, Yamamoto was looking good, and then this year, I don't know, some stuff went on. Maybe who knows? But he's got to find that groove again because he finished hot last year. Like it was great that dry Yamo and Nuge line. Like that was insane. But
the only thing I'll say is that like. I think Marody had 6 games in the AHL. Tyler Benson had 7. Like I'd like to see maybe a bit more of some time to let them establish themselves. That falls on
that falls on Tippett, and Tippett is I don't know what to say about him as a coach. He talks really well like Holland. No, actually, he talks better than Holland. Sorry.
Yeah, Holland
talks better than Holland. Everyone does.
No, he's
it's hard to listen to.
I like. Yeah, no, Tippett needs to start playing the young guys more, and he did with McLeod. I'll give him that. But like when it comes to Benson, McLeod, and Marody, who are both top 6 offensive type of players,
Yeah.
put them in those roles.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, sure, put them fourth line. That's gonna do real great for them. Like I get some adjustment, but like you gotta give them some of those minutes. You gotta see what they can do with other talent around them. Otherwise, you're just gonna have another Puljujärvi situation.
Yeah.
When he first broke in the NHL.
Well, it's funny. We were talking about on the last podcast that we were struggling to get a left winger to come in and play with those guys, and they didn't really give Benson a.
No. And I think yes,
he could have fit in. Like you could throw a line of youngins like McLeod, Benson, and Marody or something just to imagine that. Like even just for a fourth line, just young. Let's see what they could do, kind of show me type stuff, or
just to try it.
like
But it
third
just reminds
line,
me of like
yeah.
It just reminds me of it with the Draisaitl and McDavid always
Yeah,
together.
that's like
You know,
always.
like he tries to separate them, and then as soon as like. If we're behind in the second period, all of a sudden they're together again. It's
Which
like you never give it
I
a
don't
shot.
blame him for that though. We don't have the top 6 depth. Like Yamamoto regressed significantly, and Puljujärvi is just finally growing into a player. And then
Because it doesn't put his prospects up.
that's-
and then you have it's exactly like that. And then you have like Ryan Hopkins who had a weak season.
Yeah.
He needs to start putting prospects up there. He kept like we're gonna have no Tyler Ennis. We're gonna have no Cahoon. We're gonna have no Jujar Kara. This is the time where he needs to start putting some prospects, some younger guys up with the top 6 talent and see what they can do. You need to start creating those Connor Sherrys, Jake Gensel type of players that Crosby did.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I'd love that. So then kind of flowing through, going into our next thing is our potential FA targets. We were talking about kind of the offense. So I seen Oilers sound like they're maybe potentially targeting Martinook. They're out of Carolina, I believe, Hurricanes. Savard out of Tampa Bay, I believe. And then Darcy Kemper, I heard as well, from Arizona. Potential trade talks with Darcy Kemper. I mean, that would be a great tandem for Smith. What are your guys' thoughts kind of on these few names I've heard on Edmonton's radar?
I would love Kemper, but he just has a history of injuries. But who knows? Maybe he might break through it and play full season. Kemper would be great. He'd be a great target to trade for. I know there's some few other better goalies on the free agency market, but I have a feeling none of those are going to come to Edmonton.
Yeah.
So like Kemper, I wouldn't mind that. Martinook, he hasn't played as well as he did a few years ago in Carolina, but he's been going through a lot of injuries last few years. The groin injury, and all that stuff. So like, he'd be a good guy, a good energy guy for the bottom 6. So I wouldn't mind going after him. I wouldn't mind going after him.
Cheap too, probably. Right?
It would be. Yeah. And he's from he's a local boy, so be good. Savard, he's definitely not coming to Edmonton, so I don't think we should. He's not coming here. I think the Oilers need to look at other situations, and if they bring back Barry, that's going to be a very, very weak right D situation. So they'll have to look at a lefty, some strong lefty. Otherwise, who's really else available for right D? Like, I don't want Travis Hamonic, but you know
Hamonic
what?
might be there. Yeah.
He might be there. You might, bring him in, put him on the third pair, and give Bouchard that second pair of minutes.
Yeah.
Play with Duncan Keith or something, but that'd be, oh man.
Yeah.
Even then, I don't trust Duncan Keith defensively, so putting him with Bouchard, that's just tough. I don't know, man.
They have that projected right now in Daily Faceoff, actually, a Keith Bouchard pairing right now. That'd be crazy.
Which, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, for lefty, looking at what's available for targets, I wouldn't mind trying to target Ryan Murray.
Yep.
I think he'd be a good
I thought
lefty.
you were going to say Suter. I was like, no.
No. He's not. Suter's definitely not coming here. No. His family's all in Minnesota and everything. That guy's 100% signing in Colorado or something. Edler? No, I think Edler won't sign here either. I think the choice would be Ryan Murray. He's a Saskatchewan boy. He should have been Oilers. Oilers actually were going to draft him number 1 until Kate's kiboshed that and said, no, you're drafting Yakupov. So, I don't know. See if that happens there. Another player you forgot to mention too there, TK, was Getzlaff.
Yeah, Getzlaff.
I know a lot of people are saying you might not come here, but I would love to see him come and play that third line fiddle.
Oh,
God,
man.
that'd be great. Yeah.
I would love that.
Give him a cheap.
I think he could really fit in. And could you, like, our top 6 just looks so much better with him.
Yeah.
Or, sorry, our bottom 6. I mean.
Oh, yeah. And he could just, jump up and down the roll. He could play that first line PP right in front of the net type thing.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Yep.
And then, it actually would create two good lines because it allows you to put Puljujärvi as like the showman on the second unit and be able to mix. Yeah, so
exactly
awesome.
Yeah.
But that comes down to if Getzlaf wants to come to Canada and try to go for a cup with the Oilers.
Apparently, I heard he's open to leaving Anaheim, which everyone was saying before that he would never leave Anaheim, but maybe he will
for sure.
So
diving.
Yeah, but the question is, does he want to like go to like a Colorado or someone that's more of a contender? Like I would be pissed off if that guy goes and signs cheap in Toronto.
Yeah. They're gonna just have the
that's where all the older guys go now.
Line. Yeah, Perry Getz and Thornton.
Oh my God! Could you imagine that Spezza, Getzlaf, Thornton?
Spezza, yeah, Spezza. That's the guy who's thinking of.
Spezlaf?
Sorry, guys. Yeah. I was thinking of Corey Perry and Spezza at the same time with Getzlaf mixed in there. It wasn't a good combo.
Oh man!
Anyways,
that's hilarious. we're creating the Spezlaf.
Exactly, yeah. But anyways, like it kind of goes into like, does Edmonton have the cap space? So kind of our next topic here is like buyouts, like Neil or Koskinen. Like we heard Holland say in his press conference that there was probably going to be one buyout at least. I think the window for the buyouts is actually closing here. Like I think within the next day they have
tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow by 10.
Tomorrow
by 10
so
Mountain Time.
Looking at the current cap for the Oilers, like right now we're sitting at $9 million cap space.
9 mil.
That's assuming.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna have Hyman here, so I think that includes Hyman. I'm not sure. Anyways, Yamamoto and stuff like that. So we gotta think about this. So like, maybe it's $11 million cap space. Even after we sign Zach Hyman, does that include Clefbaum on long-term injury reserve?
Right.
That cap space.
Right now, it doesn't have him on.
It doesn't. I don't think.
So so that'd be $4 million we can add there. And then if we buy out Neil, that's an extra $3.5 million. But I heard that they're trying to trade him possibly. That's why they're delaying this.
Exactly.
In any case, I think we're gonna see if they can't find a potential trading piece to do this. I bet you we'll see a Koskinen buyout tomorrow. I think, or not Koskinen, Neil buyout tomorrow. Koskinen, I don't think is getting bought out. I just think for the cap, it's not efficient managed. It's not efficient to manage a cap like that by buying no Koskinen. It's not enough savings.
You think it's better to just play him or bury him in the minors?
No. Yeah. You bury him. Him.
That's true then too. Yeah, I guess they're running out of time, but I heard Neil's name today get thrown out in potential trade. Like, oh man, imagine.
It sounds like they're really trying to push him, and it said there was a trade that was almost done
fell through on the weekend.
Through,
yeah, so I would have liked to see what that would have looked like.
Yeah, I think they're trying hard to trade him. I doubt that happens, but he could definitely be bought out.
Is that deal had to deal with Arizona possibly? Since Arizona seems to be the dumping grounds right now.
Seems like
yeah, they're taking all those kind of contracts.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it definitely could
be, but I guess we'll kind of wait and see. So kind of diving into some more just general NHL discussion here from kind of the last few days. We're just gonna hammer out some of the trades and stuff that went down. So we've seen Ristolainen get moved for a first rounder, second rounder, and Haig was the return back to Buffalo. So Ristolainen went to Philadelphia. What do you guys think of that trade?
I don't really know what Philly's doing. But...
I was gonna say I don't know what Philly's doing. This guy's advanced stats and everything is complete dog shit. Otherwise than that, like I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind him a player just because probably on his name alone. Okay, I gotta say this though, like, how the frick does Ristolainen get a better return than Sam Reinhart?
Yeah, some of these trades, right? Like, it's absolutely insane. Like, some of these GMs are just giving guys away basically for like free. Like even today's trade, Stralman. Actually, Arizona acquired Stralman from Florida for like, I think it was a 7th round pick or something today. So cheap, but it's crazy. So yeah, like Cam said, his advanced stats are crazy bad. He seems to be just kind of a declining stock there, but so I'm surprised actually Philly got that much return for him. Like a few picks plus Haig. Like, oh man, I don't know about that one.
I know. Like, I think it's a great deal for Buffalo. Philly, you could tell Philly's doing this because they want to change their whole culture and chemistry and their D. I think they really want to focus on Provorov and Sanheim to be their number one pair. So they brought in Ellis, and now they're bringing in Ristolainen, and like they're just changing everything. I think they realize that their window is really dwindling, and so they want to try to push for a cup this next couple of years. And so, like, I can see what they're doing. It sucks for Voracek, poor guy.
Yeah, so to carry on with that, we've seen Voracek get moved 1-for-1 for Cam Atkinson out of Columbus. Voracek's contract is huge. I think it's $8.25 million, and Atkinson's at what, $5.875 million per, I think. So I think it might just be like Cam kind of was alluding to, like a culture change. So like, Clayton, what do you think? Because Voracek has been there for like a decade, I think. Like, it's been crazy.
Yeah. Well, he said it was. I think he made a few comments after and said it was kind of a love-hate relationship with him. I don't know if that was tongue in cheek, but maybe more so that way. But it seems like he's kind of okay with getting a change of scenery. But he was a really good player for Philly. They had some pretty good teams there. Man, that power play, that was just the most dominant power play in the league for years. Just a really solid power play. He's a good player. It's probably a good trade for both teams, I guess. I kind of feel like they're both kind of even. I didn't see them trading Voracek. I always thought he was kind of like he was one of their cornerstone players, but
I think
I don't know. It's probably.
I think they moved him. Another reason they moved him too is cap wise, man. They saved some money.
Cap,
exactly.
Exactly.
They save money.
They save some money.
Save some good money, and they can use
It's yeah, like this offseason has really proved how much value there is in just a little bit more cap space.
Yeah,
right?
And that's why Seattle, I think, is so leery to draft all those big contracts. I think that they're saving that $30 million, man. Like, they're gonna do something huge here coming up. I have to agree. Like, I think Voracek and Drew are like kind of the top two guys there for like over 10 years each, probably at least. That power play was elite for Philly, but I think in those 10 years, Philly only won like a couple playoff matchups, so like they haven't really had much playoff success at all.
More than the least can say, so that's
cool. No, exactly. So moving on, we've seen Butch Navich get traded out of New York there to St. Louis for Sonny Blaze and a second rounder. What do you guys think of that trade?
I really like Navich. I think he's a really good player. Man, like New York Rangers are going to be a really good team in the future, and I guess they're just trying to move Cap. They're worried what his contract would end up being here.
Yeah,
I just think it's so hard. That must have been a hard trade to make, man, because he's a really good player and he's better
first line winger, man. First line winger, and so he had arbitration rights. I think if they signed him, he probably would have filed for arbitration. And then, you'll be looking at like possibly $7 million, $6 to $7 million arbitration. I don't think the Rangers want to deal with that. So
and that's why it was,
and that's probably why the return wasn't the greatest either. So we could say everything we want about Oilers missing out on a chance like this, but I think a lot of teams are in cap trouble right now, and they're gonna be like this for the next couple of years since we're in flat cap. So teams are taking chances. So like I think St. Louis took this chance because, I think they know they're gonna be trading Tarasenko soon. So it's going to be kind of just flopping or switching that cap hit. So I don't know. I like the return. Sammy Bly in a second.
Yeah,
seems very low level. Bly's like a third line winger.
Yeah.
I think St. Louis did it right.
Comes down to Adam Fox's contract he's going to get.
That's going to be massive. You're a freaking Norris winner. So when you win a Norris Trophy, man, he could demand some good money there.
That's just it. That's just it too. And like you said, maybe Tarasenko will get moved here too eventually. So maybe they're just trying to clear that right wing roster spot, maybe for Butch to kind of slide right in there and just do kind of a swap like that. So then kind of touching in on that monster trade that we've seen between Vancouver and Arizona. So this is a crazy one. So we've seen Connor Garland and Oliver Ekman-Larsson moved to Vancouver for Beagle, Eriksson, Roussel, a 2020 first rounder that we've seen get used, a second rounder in 2022, and a seventh rounder in 2022. So overall, this was a financial transaction of around $63.5 million. What do you guys think of that? Like, that is crazy.
Can you classify a trade as being bad for both teams?
Of course you can. Yeah.
You can. Yeah, lost.
Because, like, in my opinion, this trade is bad for both teams.
Yeah. Maybe elaborate.
Like,
elaborate a bit there, Ken.
Like, the reason why I'm saying that is because look at the cap that Vancouver just took on. And look where Oliver Ekman-Larsson's season's been the last few years. He's getting overpaid compared to a lot of his like players that are similar level to him based on advanced stats and what he's doing. But granted, he wasn't a shitty team of Arizona.
Right.
But that's a lot of cap.
Yeah,
that's so much cap for Larson.
7.2.
And then you're gonna have to, and then re-signing Garland and all that stuff, and then like then you're giving up. And then look at Arizona. Like you're trading. Like you gain these contracts, and you only get a ninth overall pick for it. Like, I don't know. I think it's just bad both ways because like those contracts are going to free up for Vancouver next year, and they could have just waited, and they had all this time to build it out. Instead, I think there's some pressure on Benning from the ownership, so they kind of went out and made this trade. But like,
yeah, he's definitely feeling some heat there.
Yeah.
I think. I'm just impressed Louis Eriksson was able to be traded away. But I guess this is the type of trade that makes it possible. But I was just like, I just thought there was no way they would ever get rid of Eriksson.
He was so good too back in the day. Like, oh man,
he was super good. Like I remember back in Dallas, he was super good. I think
Boston
when he
too,
came to Boston, he was okay for a bit. But Vancouver is not his place. But I'll give him props that he was able to get rid of Eriksson.
Yeah, and then Arizona kind of gets alluded to as like the graveyard for contracts and stuff like that. But we'll
see if Garland signs. I'm sure he will.
Yeah.
But
I feel bad for Chychrun.
Jacob Chychrun, he's kind of stuck there, right? Like,
Signs his contract with them, and now he's seeing all these quality players get moved. Even same thing of Keller,
Yeah,
like
that's true.
Yeah.
So then, kind of touching on another trade, I think this happened Friday right before the draft. I believe Seth Jones and a pick went to Chicago for Boqvist. 2 first-rounders, I believe, and a second-rounder. So we see that Seth and Caleb Jones kind of reunited there in Chicago. So what do you guys think of that trade? Yeah.
I think that's a lot of money to pay Seth Jones.
I think the Oilers fucked up by giving Chicago that cap space to do it.
Yeah, they paved the way, right? Like for them.
I gotta agree. That cap is hard. It's too high for Jones, but Jones is worth it. Last couple years, really bad. I say that's high because now that really puts a market on Dougie Hamilton, and if Dougie Hamilton signs for around that range, well, fuck.
Darnell Nurse.
There goes Nurse.
Yep, 9.5.
Nurse is sitting there, and he's just licking his chops, like, oh yeah, give me the money. Give me the money.
Yeah.
Like,
way to go, Seth Jones.
Like, why the fuck did we not sign Nurse to a long-term contract a few years ago when we had the chance? There was talks. Like, Chiarelli had the opportunity. Was it Chiarelli or Holland? Who signed him the last contract?
He signed a
I'm
bridge
not
deal
sure.
2 years. It might have been Holland.
That was Holland, yeah. So he signed a first bridge contract with Chiarelli, and then he wanted a long-term contract. I remember this. He wanted a long-term contract, never got it done, so he signed another 2-year bridge with Holland. Yep. And that's stupid. He should have signed him long-term. I think he was looking at, 7 or 8 years at 6.5?
Right. And that would...
Something, I remember something around there. And, like, you should... Like, at that time, we had, oh, man, he should have done... Like, Oilers should have done that. Now they're going to be potentially signed to a long-term contract around 8 to potentially $9 million a year.
Yeah. And the thing with Nurse, too, is he was trending upwards every single year. So what do you think was going to happen the next few years, right?
Yep, breakout. And he finally had his breakout season once Clefbaum was gone.
That's just it. Yeah, give him the time, and he was just a workhorse, putting up points, scoring goals. But I think Seth Jones, like you said, Seth Jones kind of paved that trail now of that kind of that number now to go by for that type of style of defensive play. Puts up points, plays defensively, just kind of a beast mentality. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Nurse get a huge contract next year too. But I think that's why Holland is so leery with his cap this year. I think that's why he's being super tight. He might actually be thinking for the future, but
well, he is. He's thinking about Nurse and Prigliardi. Yeah, but to go back to his trade, to answer your question, I think it was a good trade for Columbus or Chicago and Columbus. I think Columbus got Law in return, so they have to be happy with that. I think it's a good trade for Chicago because Seth Jones really wanted to go to Chicago, I guess that was his number one target he wanted to go to. And, you know, if you look at the roster of Chicago, they have some good young guys and everything coming up. And so I think it's good. I'll say this one: I'm not fond of them not protecting or qualifying Suter. I think they should have qualified Suter. That guy,
Suter,
had an unreal season as a rookie, and like, you know, they should have kept him. So I'm curious what Chicago's doing.
Yeah, so we just seen that today. I think PS wasn't qualified, right? So that's a good point there, Cam. So just to touch base, then we seen Jake Bean as well get traded from Carolina to Columbus just for a pick there. So what do you guys think? Jake Bean was highly talked about defenseman, up and coming, 23. What do you guys think of that trade?
I don't have really a lot to say. They're probably getting a pretty good player there. So I think
there was no room. Yeah, there was no room for him on Carolina with that decor. There was no room for him. So I think it made sense. It was a good trade on Columbus' part because they're trying to they got Boqvist now. They got this Jake Bean who could jump in, you know, and they're really trying to rebuild a team. I feel bad for Columbus, man. Like, you know, they go through all these players went out, and one of your goalies passed away in an unfortunate incident. And now you have Laine. Now you have Laine that you qualified Laine, and the dude's 100% going to take him to arbitration because he's a dick, and so you're going to lose Laine probably for a very minimal amount. So, like, they're in such a tough spot, and you know what? It's funny that everyone wants to say Buffalo is like the equivalent of Edmonton. It's almost like Columbus is now the equivalent of Edmonton.
That's true.
All these stars want to leave. There's nothing to do in Columbus. You know, I have a couple buddies I play NHL with who are from Columbus, and they say it's just like it's a dead end zone. Like, even I think you hear comments about Pierre-Luc Dubois, who just like didn't want to stay there at all times. And he never owned a place there. He was always like renting the cheap, place to stay. And so like there's just nothing to do there.
That's
tough. Yeah, like you said, there's lots of movement. There's the coaching changes and stuff like that. So lots of movement.
Yeah, I think it's a good move. Finally, Tortorella's gone, so maybe that might help keep some stability there. But when you lose Panarin, then you lose Bobrovsky, and then you have Pierre-Luc Dubois who wants out and has a big, huge hissy fit. I don't agree with what he did this last season. You know, not skating around, not doing anything. Yeah. I don't agree with that. I think he showed really what type of character the player is. You can bitch all you want about Tortorella, but if you're not going to play or show any type of energy or give your 100%, then I can see why Tortorella's going to bench you. And then and then when he does give you a chance to go back on the ice and play, and you're just going to lollygag around, and you know, like, come on, like, show some respect, no matter what situation you're in with a coach.
Yeah, that's too true. Like you said, maybe Torts out might be kind of a blessing in disguise for some of these offensive-minded players too, because, you know, kind of the style that they would always play was super defensive. A lot of these kind of offensive-minded players kind of go there to die and stuff. So it might be maybe a turnaround season for the team, but like you said, their roster's been going through some turmoil. There's been lots of movement and stuff. So I guess we'll kind of have to wait and see where it lands. But
I'm sure their hands were tied. With that trade. But I'm just like, could you think of a worse mix of a player and a coach than Laine and Torts?
Yeah, no, that's too true. Yeah, that's so fair.
You got one of the laziest star wingers playing against a coach that expects 110% every shift.
That's why he was benched.
I'll say this. So Columbus is doing smart. They're going to rebuild just like Buffalo. They're probably going to move Domi and get some return for him soon. I'll say by deadline. Yeah. You know, a few other pieces are going to move. I'm curious what they're going to get for Laine. I think, you know what? Honestly, they should just do their best to move Laine as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I would not risk having him for the season.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
Cale Makar, big contract, like a 6-year, $9 million contract. He probably seen that Seth Jones one, is like, giddy up, boys, let's dance. So Cale Makar signs in Colorado for 6 years, $9 million, $54 million contract. What do you guys think of that one?
Should have gave him McDavid money.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where's Bryce?
No question. This is a great contract. You got an absolute stud defenseman who's going to lead the league for years to come.
It's just funny. Like, I'm in a little disagreement there, Clean. I think it's overpaid. I think it's too much. I think Colorado should have done a little more to try to, you know, use their bargaining power to get him on like a bridge contract. because they're trying to go for a
Right.
cup. They're trying to go for a cup,
True.
and then you're trying to re-sign Landeskog. You need to re-sign your Vezina,
Grubauer.
Vezina
No.
finalist Grubauer, and now you just put $6 million. Now you put $9 million into a 6-year deal with McCarr. Like, he's worth it, I agree, but you have bargaining power. You should try to fight for that bridge contract. And I'm kind of curious what Bryce.
Yeah,
thinks
his
about.
next contract would have been super
Oh.
high compared to what he's getting now. That's the hard part of
Look at
that.
their D, man. There's so much money in them, and like
There is.
at $9 million, like that pretty much means that Quinn Hughes is going to get that same type of money in Vancouver.
Yep.
And Adam Fox is going to get more because Adam Fox, in my opinion, is better defensively than McCarr.
Yeah, and he puts up big numbers. He had 40-some points
Yep.
this season, right, too? But right behind
Puts
Barry.
up big numbers.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, like, he's going to get a massive contract now. And what happens if Bowen breaks out? There's always a possibility that Bowen could break out this next season. And then you're going to have to pay him big money. You're going to have all this money in your D. There's no, like, reading reports right now, like, Colorado's in a fickle position because they're not going to be able to sign Landeskog or Grubauer.
Yeah.
So it's just like...
And they were all in for the cup, too, this season, too. Like, you could tell, like, they had everything in. And then, they're going to get dinged now on some of these big contracts coming up. I think Bowen Byram, like you mentioned, I think he's got 2 more years left on an ELC contract. But then after that, he could be asking big money. Like,
And who else is up for a contract in 2 years? Tim?
looks like we got Nathan McKinnon. He's going to be wanting big money.
Yeah.
He's at a 6.3 right now, which is an absolute bargain.
He's been playing at a
He's
pretty
been
good
playing at a
discount, I'd say.
Him and Draisaitl, I think, have great discount contracts right now. And then, you said, like, they have to re-sign Landeskog somehow or some way, shape, or form. If they don't re-sign their captain, I don't know what's going to go down there, right? But that's a big piece.
Oh, man. Like, McKinnon, he's going to demand in 2 years. He's going to be 27 years old. He's going to be like, I want that max contract. He's like, I signed a cheap deal for you guys, gave my prime good years, give me that max contract, and he deserves it.
Oh, yeah.
And
absolutely.
Colorado's gonna be screwed because they're gonna have you have Rantanen, who's gonna be 2 years after that as a UFA. You got Burakovsky UFA next year, Kadri. Their team, their cup window is literally this next year.
Because of the cap hell that they're going to be in. I have to agree with
Unless,
that. Unless they could trade a big piece for multiple pieces and with depth, but like you said, I think that their window's closing pretty quick, unfortunately.
I think it's a good problem to have, though.
Very good problem.
That's true, yeah. That's
But
fair.
wait, you could say it's a good problem because the Oilers had that problem, and what did they do?
It's the decisions you make to get out of that situation that determines everything.
It's a good problem to have, but you need a good GM to manage that problem. So far, Oilers haven't had a good GM. And honestly, looking at the situation right now in Colorado, is Sakic even a good GM himself? Not really.
I guess
he's made some questionable decisions himself, and there's a lot of factors leading. Like, if he doesn't, in my opinion, if he's not able to re-sign your captain Landeskog, then that's a failure by a GM. You failed your team by not keeping your captain.
That's true, and I think, like you said, Landeskog was hurt. I think personally, like, he was very hurt. But...
What's the story? Yeah, what's the story behind like their negotiations? They never tried to tackle it last year. I'm sure they did, but
they don't want to give him what his value is.
I think there's a big gap between the cap, cap, major gap, Like,
okay,
Landeskog,
they both just they both just stood their ground, kind of thing,
which is fair.
Landeskog
deserves it. He plays that big body game, puts up points. Still young. He's at what, 28, 27. 28, yeah, and he wants this can be his last big contract, and he wants to maximize. I do not blame him.
Yeah, he wants a big 8
And
year.
Colorado, like, you go out and throw $9 million in McCarr, like, that's where I'm getting at. You should use that bargaining power to get him on the bridge contract, even if it was 2 years.
I think that's a bad decision. I think you got to sign him for that $9 million long-term contract, but difference of opinion.
But it also goes both ways because, like, think about it. What happens if McCarr these next 2 years, or say he signs a 1-year bridge contract, and next season he doesn't play to the capability that he was this past season? And there's always a risk factor where he could just regress. There's always that potential where he could have that 1 year where he regresses a lot.
I don't know if Bakar's that type of player, though. I don't know. He just seems like he's just a.
But then in 2 years, I'm
tough
just
to say, I guess. Too.
Yeah, if he keeps rising and
That's the thing. It's tough. You just don't know.
He's like one of the best skaters in the NHL. Like,
No, that's true.
I think, yeah.
I'm just a big believer in that bridge contract type of thing. When you're like,
Yeah.
Nurse.
well, Nurse was on 2 bridge contracts, Clayton. That's why I said he should have signed him long term last time.
He did have like a double.
He was on 2.
Yeah.
They did a double bridge on him, and that's a mistake. And it's going to cost the Oilers.
Right.
Yeah.
I like those bridge
That was
contracts.
PK Subban too.
Yep.
That was PK Subban too, and he got his big payout.
Yep. So like I feel like they should have done the bridge. No, but yeah, it's a different opinion.
Yeah.
At $9 million for 6 years, it's good money for Makar. Like he deserves it. The kid is a stud. But there's like, I don't know. I just don't think Makar's that great defensively.
Right.
To be honest.
Yeah. He's
and
still
like,
pretty young too.
what's yeah. So like,
kid's only 22.
It's tough.
He's only 22. Like he's gonna probably just keep
Yeah.
getting better. I mean, he's not even.
he will.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's too bad Bryson joined this podcast today, and he could give us a little more insights into Colorado and all this stuff. But like, I do feel bad for them because their cup window literally is closing, and I thought for sure this was their year. I thought they're going to go to the finals this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. A lot of people did.
For sure. So kind of moving on, we've seen Sam Reinhart get traded out of Buffalo as well. So like Buffalo, we were saying lots of movement out of there and stuff. Sam Reinhart to Florida for a 2022 first rounder. It looks like. What are your thoughts on that? Florida loading up.
I think. I think. Yeah, like I don't know. Florida gets a really good player in Reinhart. I think the writing was on the wall for Reinhart to get traded out of Buffalo. He had to go somewhere. They had to make some kind of a trade. Yeah, I don't know. Devin Levi is a really good prospect to get back to.
Right.
So I think I think their hands were kind of tied, and they kind of had to trade him, and they kind of got the best they could, I guess.
I find it funny that they trade him to Florida. So now Florida has 3 of the top 4 picks in the 2014 draft in Barkov. Or not Barkov, sorry. Ekblad,
yeah.
Reinhart, Sam Bennett.
Maybe Draisaitl's going that way.
That is pretty funny.
Let's hope Draisaitl doesn't end up.
Oh, no.
That's crazy though.
I feel like Buffalo got a shitty deal in return, to be honest. Like I feel like Reinhart is a guy that should got them, like we mentioned before, got more and we're slime, but
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. I think Florida got a steal of a deal here.
I do like that they got Devin Levi.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna be a stud goalie, and Florida had no choice to move him. Just with Spencer Knight,
Right.
2 years after his
Yeah.
draft. Look at this. 2 years after his draft, he went to the NHL. And so, like, he's gonna be playing that backup role right now with Bobrovsky and probably give him more starts. So, like, look at his progression and look at that compared to like Wallstead and all that stuff. So,
Yeah,
like,
that's a good.
Yeah.
it's
good
funny.
comparison.
But yeah, no, Devin Levi's a good goalie. So Buffalo took a good chance on him because I don't think Allmark's going to be re-signing in Buffalo. So now they have a young goalie that they could potentially bring in to try to battle for a backup position or even potentially push for a starter in Buffalo. They're going to be they're rebuilding. So this next year they're probably going to be really bad. So maybe give Levi that chance to see what he can do.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I it would be nice to see Allmark come to Edmonton as well too. Like I'm hoping Holland could work something out there to sign him, but
Out of all the goalies available, if you want like a good cap hit of a goalie that can also play number 1 minutes, I think it's Linus Allmark.
yeah, I have to agree. Yeah, totally.
So I wouldn't mind bringing him in either as well.
For sure. And then just recently, today I believe actually, Sam Bennett signed a 4-year extension with Florida, $4.4 million per. What do you guys think of that? Like, oh man, looking at that, I'm like, holy crap! Like Sam Bennett, he hasn't really broken over 20 points. I don't think in a season. Maybe a few, over 30, but nothing too fancy. Like, what do you guys think of the 4.4 for Bennett?
That's tough.
Man.
He did well in
That is
Florida.
tough.
He did really well in Florida. 15 points in 10 games played. Really started to finally get that opportunity that he was never given in Calgary to play top 6 minutes and really, play with some good forwards.
Yeah.
I think it's too much, to be honest. Just for what he's done in his past, maybe they're basing that off 10 games with them. So if they think he's worth 4.4 for those 10 games, then maybe he is.
Yeah, I just watching him in Calgary, like he wasn't that effective for where he was drafted. He just really struggled, and I don't think he really was utilized right because he went to Florida and he just flourished there in a different change of scenery. He's that perfect guy that went change of scenery and he just went crazy. And I think even the playoffs, he was like really effective too. So yeah, it's kind of a tough one, but I'm just like, he hasn't proved enough, I don't think, for 4 years, 4.4 million or whatever his contract is. I think I feel like 4.4 is a lot, but and then 4 years on top of that for a guy who didn't prove a lot.
Yeah.
That seems like a lot, but maybe they took the gamble on it, and it could work out because he really played very well when he went there.
Well, they're also buying 2 UFA years from him, so I think that's another factor and why you got a little more.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's true. I personally think they overpaid for sure. I mean, I think his best season was back in 15-16 with Calgary. He had 36 points.
His
rookie year, basically, yes, exactly. He played 77 games, had 36 points, but still, I don't think that could conjure up a 4.4 million contract for 4 years. I mean, even like you said, 15 points in 10 games, that's a pretty small, sample size to judge from, but if they seen something in how he fit in the roster, then I could probably see why they gambled on him. I mean, like you said, I think he plays all 3 positions in the forward role, so he could play center, left, and right wing. So that's a fairly good asset to have, I believe. But
because it kind of seemed like he was playing like a grinder almost, like on Calgary, which like wasn't why he was like where he was drafted. He's a skilled player, at least when he entered the league. But no, he still is. Florida, he really showed what he can do. So, I kind of Florida's one of those teams that I kind of root for a little bit. So I kind of hope that he does good for them.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I hope so too. Like they've been, I was really hoping they beat Tampa Bay first round.
Yeah,
but that was a good first round though.
But Bobrovsky really shit the bed.
Yeah, they kind of went through all the goals
Bobrovsky,
there.
man.
Spencer Knight, I think, had their best game for them. They were one of the wins. But
like,
yeah.
So if we take a look at the Florida roster, then like their top 6 looks pretty deadly.
Yeah, it is.
If you think about it.
Barkov, Hubby,
It is.
they got Horn, now they got Bennett. Duclair they re-signed to a $3 million 3-year contract. They got Frank the Tank Vetrano there too. Like they got some.
No, Vetrano's gonna be moved.
You think? Yeah,
I think
they might. I guess this
Yeah,
is.
So if you look at their true top 6, you got Barkov, Huberdeau, Hornqvist, Bennett, Duclair, and now Reinhart.
Oh
So
yeah,
they have their second line center in Reinhart, first line center in Barkov. Yeah. So now they have Bennett and Duclair who can be playing probably on wing with Reinhart, and then you have Hornqvist, Huberdeau, Barkov, top
big
unit.
line. Yeah.
And then you also have that guy, that Carter Verhaeghe.
Verhaeghe. Yeah.
Yeah, he had a good year.
He did. He's super young. $1 million contract. Like he's super cheap too. Like they actually got a really good roster. Like their bottom 6 is great. I mean, comparing it to Edmonton.
Also,
even,
man,
like
freaking Mackenzie Weegar is unreal. That guy's a stud. Yeah. He's on a cheap contract, and for the minutes he plays, and he plays in all situations, PK, PP, great 5-on-5, great analytical stats. He's just that guy. They got a stud right there. That's a perfect guy that they groomed that really blossomed the last couple of years.
Yeah.
This is a pretty good team.
Yeah.
But can they do anything? That's the question.
Just it. I mean, they're up against Tampa Bay, so can you really judge them for losing? I mean, they're
that's a tough matchup.
Cap team versus this roster, which is fairly great. I think next year they'll have another great season. I believe. I think they were like top 2 in their division this year. I believe with the kind of the restructuring and whatnot. Just kind of going into one of the most recent signings here. I seen just not even an hour ago. TSN broke up. Paul Stastny re-signs with Winnipeg, a 1-year contract, $3.75 million. So just another depth center there that they re-signed, bringing Stastny back. What are your guys' thoughts on that one?
What was the contract? Can you say that again?
$7.5 million for just 1 year. They're bringing him back.
It's probably okay. He's a pretty good player for them. They really like him there. It's probably a good contract.
Yeah, it's a good stopgap that they can alternate in the middle, and he can also hop on wing or even put Dubois on wing, because there's no guarantee that Dubois is really going to take over that second line center. So having Statsy there as like a stopgap type of player that can play your third line center, but also jump up and play top six and stuff. I think it's a good contract. They had no choice. Like he wanted to stay there. Winnipeg wanted him back. It made sense.
I also see it looks like Brendan Dillon got traded to Winnipeg Jets for 2 picks.
wow.
What, like a third? 2/3?
2022 and 2023 second round picks.
Oh,
Two
wow.
second
I was expecting
rounders,
2/3. I was expecting 2
Me too,
thirds,
actually.
not 2 seconds.
So some more breaking news here. Look at this.
Yeah.
Dylan's a good D-man.
He's a good D man. Yeah.
So what does that mean then? Are they going to be moving DeMello or are they keeping DeMello? Because like I value Dylan and DeMello as like very similar players.
Yeah.
This is some great live action, boys. But you guys have got anything else kind of to add as well for any more NHL discussions? I see we got some more breaking trades happening here right as we speak, which is always nice.
Well, I'm really curious what's going to happen Wednesday with the Oilers specifically.
Yeah.
I've been very critical of Holland so far, and this draft is another element that really adds to his pedigree that he just doesn't seem to be a great GM right now. I know he put Tyler Wright is a really, really good, head scout and everything like this, and your top guy for determining who to draft, or amateur scout or whatever, head amateur person. But I don't know, man. I really hope Holland doesn't overpay for anyone, but. We're the Edmonton Oilers. No one wants to really come play here. The media is really trash here. So I have a feeling Holland's going to be overpaying for a few more players aside from Hyman.
Yeah. His job, I don't want to make excuses for him, but I think his job's a little bit harder than some people make it out to be. But he's in that position and he's got to take some of the heat for his decisions. So, and some of them have been a little bit questionable. So,
He hasn't been really proven to handle the pressure too well yet. But I guess he's got a big day ahead of him here Wednesday coming up here. So,
well, he's been talking forever about once he finally gets this cap to be able to make some moves
he's done nothing.
He's been saying be patient and stuff. And wait until I get this opportunity. And at this point, nothing. He hasn't proved anything. So
I'm sorry. When you get this cap space and you go out and use $5.6 million of it for a 38-year-old D-man, then you really don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, I just can't get over that one.
He's stuck in 20 years ago.
I don't.
Basically.
Yeah.
We could have acquired Nick Leddy. We could have used that to acquire a top six forward. Like there's so many situations where he could have used those assets to acquire someone more useful than.
I hate to keep talking about it, but I just can't get over that.
Yep.
The timing
that
of it,
move.
because we see all these things unfold.
The timing is a huge part of it.
Totally. But right on, guys. So that was our episode 4 here, Tipsy Toe Drag podcast. I think we're getting short on time here, so we'll wrap this one up. Any kind of closing remarks then? Just kind of pray for Wednesday here, I guess, right?
Yeah, excited. You know what? Free agency is always lots of fun. It's always fun to see where all the players are going and if there's any trades that happen too. So I'm excited.
Yeah, same. Really excited and excited to also go over the trades on Friday or Thursday whenever we decide the next podcast.
Betcha, yeah, Thursday or Friday for sure.
Or not trades, signings. Trades plus signings. There might be some trades that happen on free agent day too. You never know.
See some fireworks happening. I'm also gonna call in sick here on Wednesday, but we'll see how that one plays out. Anyways, guys, we'll leave all you tuning in here for now, and hope we catch you guys on episode 5 here coming up here, hopefully Thursday or Friday. Right on. We are Tipsy Toe Drag podcast, and signing out for now. Cheers for now.
All right. See ya.
See ya.